So today we are taking a look back at the long history of Pokemon, and specifically the urban legends that have accumulated over the long history of Pokemon. Urban legends form over time, and well, are legends for that reason, and are just stories that could either be real or not. So today, let's jump into some of these strange urban legends in Pokemon you missed or simply forgot about. But first, a word from our sponsors.
But before we get into any of that, let's talk about our sponsors. So ladies and gentlemen, this video is brought to you by Extra Wallet, who provided maybe one of their premium smart wallets. Now what's really cool about these is you've got these quick access card buttons which you can press to just get your cards out really fast, but on top of that, these are RFID protected, so you don't need to worry about people stealing your identity or getting access to your cards. On top of that, the Extra Wallet is made out of premium quality. These are premium leather wallets, which means that they will last for quite a while and they really look nice. But on top of that, they have the key tracker feature, which basically allows you to connect this little key tracker to your phone to see where your Extra Wallet is all across the world. On top of that, these are voice activated, so if you need that, it's there. But not just that, these are also solar powered, so all you have to do is just charge it for about 2 hours and it will last you for 3 months. So what are you waiting for, ladies and gentlemen? Check our link in the description down below. Our referral link will give you a discount when you get yourself a wallet. So a big thank you to Extra for sponsoring us, and let's get into the rest of the video.
We have to start off this video with one of the classics, and that of course has to be the Lavender Town Syndrome. So I remember when this urban legend was in its earliest days. So back in the day, there was this thing known as the Lavender Town Syndrome, and this all stemmed from the strange little town in Kanto from 1996's Pokemon Red and Blue, and of course Green in Japan. Basically, the legend suggested that listening to the music of Lavender Town would cause the player, oftentimes children, to feel nauseous and even give them suicidal tendencies. Now apparently when the game first came out in Japan, there was a spike in suicides and sick children ranging between the ages 7 and all the way to 12. But this was never actually proven, though there have been persistent theories that if you are younger, you can hear a lower and stranger pitch and frequency in the music that'll make you feel sick to your stomach. Now I have to point out that this wasn't actually proven, and I remember that when I was a teen, I heard this whole thing for the first time and listened to the music afterwards, and I did feel like a strange pitch that made me feel weird. But if we're going to be realistic about this, that was probably just my own mind playing games with me, and just the circumstances of me being scared of the whole subject and intrigued by it that made me believe the whole thing, was actually real, and elevated the feeling and essentially caused me to feel that way, right? It made me feel like it could be actually real. But who knows what actually is true about it? The honest truth is, Lavender Town is the creepiest town in all of Pokemon, and probably one of the creepiest places in video gaming, as it is such a strange place to have in a game that circulates around catching cute monsters. But who knows, maybe there is something to the theory about the music, or maybe not. But let's move on to the next. The next urban legend comes our way from more or less the creepypasta community. We're talking about the long-rumored existence of the Pokemon Black version, or Pokemon Creepy Black, a copy of Pokemon Red and Blue that took on a much more sinister tone than most of the Pokemon games. So how does the story go for this game, and how does it differ from Pokemon Red and Blue if that's what it's based on? Well, for the most part, it is the same game. You start your journey in Pallet Town, talk to Professor Oak, and all that stuff, but when you come to the choice of the 3 starters, things change somewhat. You still have the option of choosing Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur, but there's also a 4th Pokemon in Pokemon Creepy Black. There's the addition of Ghost. Now if you take Ghost as a starter, you will notice that it starts off at level 1 rather than level 5 like your usual Pokemon starters, and the only move that it has is the move Curse, which is kinda sinister and strange. And in terms of battles, what you will get to see is pretty much all the enemy Pokemon being too scared to move when facing the Ghost, and it's said by the author about the information about the Pokemon Creepy Black cartridge that using Curse would cut the whole screen to black on the Game Boy, and the cry of the enemy Pokemon, or the trainer you're facing in their Pokemon, would be heard with distortion to it, and then the screen would come back and the Pokemon you were facing would be gone by this point. And the Pokeballs in the top right that show you how many Pokemon the NPC you are facing has, left and whatnot, would go down lower and lower whenever you were facing off against him, like they would actually disappear. And this would continue on until the trainer you were facing off against was the only thing remaining, at which point you can either run or use Curse again to destroy the trainer himself. But towards the end of the game, after essentially you having gone through the whole world of this game and gotten rid of essentially every single NPC and other person, it would be an empty world. And as said by the owner of the quote-unquote copy of this supposed game, the game would cut to Lavender Town, where the player character was now an old man without Ghost in his team or any Pokemon at all with him anymore, just walking his lonely road. When the player returns to Pallet Town, the Ghost would face the player and end the player's life, at which point the game would restart itself and remove the save file. So basically, for those who don't realize, it is a creepypasta, born of the internet age, and these used to be very common back in the day, as the idea of a version of a normal game existing that was out of the ordinary and strange or even creepy, or possibly even cursed, just awoke like intrigue in people. And that's exactly what this urban legend did. It caused everyone to start wondering if it was real, right? The story behind this Pokemon Black copy, right? What was the deal with it? It was simply just a black cartridge that apparently the author of this whole story, that's behind it, that he got at a flea market. And I mean, there is a possibility that someone out there in the world might modify a game, maybe not Pokemon, but some other game, and put it into the world to see if like a select few who find it, may discover some things about it. Like, people might do that. Those things have happened. We've had cases of these sort of stories in the past actually being real, but actually having cursed copies, less likely, let's be honest. But in this case about Pokemon Black or Creepy Black, this was a story more about getting the intrigue of people and getting them interested in this more creepy and sinister version of Pokemon, and to me, it's a pretty cool little story, and I think it's worth mentioning. So next is less of a creepy urban legend, but still worth bringing up. Next is the subject of the most famous scientist and programmer in the Pokemon world, that being Bill himself. See, Bill as a character has always sort of just been there, and back in the day during Pokemon Red and Blue, you had to go to Bill's home to get your hands on the SS Ant ticket, and if you also help Bill from staying, he was basically turning himself into a Pokemon, if you help him from that, you would just help him out and finish off some quests. But something that really intrigued players back in the day about Bill's home, and not Bill himself, was this strange space, or the garden behind Bill's home, that seemingly never had anything within it. It made people wonder, what was behind there? What was over there? And because Bill was such a famous figure, and the man behind the whole PC system in the Pokemon world, these legends and rumors started to spring up about what could be behind Bill's home. You would maybe be able to find mythical Pokemon there, like, for example, Mew, or even possibly the Pokegod Peekable. But in reality, nothing was there. The space was just a leftover. However, was there perhaps a plan to add something to this area? Maybe possibly they were going to do something there, or maybe it's just a leftover. Who knows? Like, in all fairness, this is something that's very common within video game development. It's very common to have leftover, unfixed areas and unremoved areas in the games when you're making them that you just don't finish off and don't finish completing and all that. So it is possible they were going to do something behind Bill's home in his garden, but maybe they just didn't have time to finish it. Or maybe there was no plan. Who knows? So for the final urban legend on this one, we're going to talk about a subject I mentioned earlier, that being the Pokegod Peekable. Now most of you will probably already know about this, but for those who do not know, well, let me tell you all about it. So the story of Peekable has a lot of different versions to it, but it all seems to stem from the idea that there could have been another evolution for Raichu. And this all started back in the day because there was a bit of a text mistranslation in the American versions of Pokemon Red and Blue, where a man on Cinnabar Island would say that his Raichu could evolve. However, this wasn't actually the case, as again, it was merely a mistranslation. But that didn't stop people, especially young children at the time, to take the idea and run with it. And initially, it was elevated like crazy because there were images coming out of this strange-looking Pikachu style of Pokemon, that being Meryl in reality. And people assumed that this would be the new Pokegod, like the brand new one, a Pokemon that would be powerful and incredible. However, for as much as of an urban legend that Peekable is and was, it was also the beginning of the end of the popularity of Pokegods, because when it was determined that Peekable wasn't powerful or special in any way, people just sort of lost interest in the idea of Peekable, as well as the Pokegods themselves, as they felt like the idea of Pokegods was no longer valid or realistic. But that didn't stop people, especially kids at the time, on their schoolyards to come up with these methods of how you could receive Peekable back in the day. One of these ways was to do this specific method. You had to go and capture all the 150 Pokemon without using Game Shark codes, then obtain 17 Pokemon over the level 70, go to Pewter City and talk with a man who asks you if you have been to the Pewter Museum of Science, then he takes you inside to the museum, you talk to the lady upstairs that wants her boyfriend to catch her a Pikachu, you then have to leave the museum right away, use Fly to go to the Safari Zone, make sure you have 5 slots open in your party, catch a Tauros, put Tauros in your first slot, fly to Celadon City, go to the game corner, talk to the lady who tells you to visit the next building over. Instead of her usual dialogue, she will notice that you have obtained every badge in Kanto and give you a Pokemon she found behind the museum. She can't control it apparently. The Pokemon's name is displayed as question mark, question mark, question mark. When you try to view its summary, nothing happens. You gotta go to Professor Oak next, who will claim that you have delivered his parcel. The first Pokemon in your party, Tauros, will be replaced by Peekable, but will still be named question mark, question mark, question mark. You gotta change its name, and instead of the new nickname, it will be named Peekable. You will then have to type in the following Game Shark code 01E364D1. Peekable will now be treated as a normal Pokemon. So that was one of the made-up methods of receiving it. However, there are a few others that aren't really worth mentioning, but yeah, what do you guys think about this? You know, what do you think about the idea of Peekable? Do you think it came only from the community and was then taken on by Game Freak, hence why they created Meryl? Or did Game Freak already have Meryl planned and then the community sort of took the little information they had about like the Raichu stuff and then try to make the connection, you know, with the man in Cinnabar all the way to Meryl? Well, we will never really know, but that's basically all I had to say about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys want to see another video about the, urban legends and Pokemon, we can do a part 2 where we cover a few more, because there are quite a lot of these urban legends that I haven't covered. Today, I wanted to start off with some of the more known ones for you guys, but then if you guys show enough interest, we'll do some of the more hidden and unknown ones as well. But thank you so much for watching. Let's hit 700 likes on this video for a part 2, and also check out Extra Wallet, and thank you once again to them for sponsoring this video. Either way, have a great day, and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.